welcome to part one of me building my van. You might have known from like a video before that I bought a van, a camper van. It had already been kitted out, but it kind of was not really the style that I wanted and everything. The kitchen was in the back and I wanted it in the front, and the bed just wasn't quite the way I liked it. So with the help of Mum, I am going to convert the inside and hopefully make it so that it is self-contained, because in New Zealand you have to have self-contained vans if you want to, you know, sleep in areas that aren't just campsites. So in this little video I redid the floor and the side panels, and we built the bed. The bed's not fully done yet, but that is what goes on, and I don't know what I'm talking about most of the time, but just enjoy the very fast video speed that I decided to do. So enjoy, and well, you never know, you might get to the end. If you don't, whatever, that's fine.
This is the current situation. Got all of the wood out, including the base. I've just been hoovering the inside, so it's kind of clean, but the next step is how to get the kitchen out. I literally have no idea.
Today we're taking the kitchen out the van.
Here we go, I've unscrewed all the screws. And that's the rest of it. All in like that. Mum's just getting the crowbar.
As you could tell by my face, we were not having a good time of it. Mum managed to accidentally bash a hole in the back of my van.
Woohoo! Yummy.
And then after we did that, we went out to Mitre 10 to get some wood for the floor and also some wood to make new side panels, because those were super gross. We ended up buying 2 larger bits of wood for the floor and 1 thinner piece for the side panels. Unfortunately, we couldn't get away with just 1 piece for the floor. It wasn't quite wide enough, so that's why we had to buy 2. What we did next was take out the mat that was on the floor and cut out areas that looked as if we might have to get into in the future, or someone might have to get into in the future. So we did that, and then I traced around the mat on both of those bits of wood, just so that it made it easier for when Mum used the jigsaw to cut it out. And that is kind of what we did. I was really just doing nothing but standing on the wood. I wasn't particularly helpful.
Here's some of the cut out pieces that's going to go in this side of the van, and then because it's not long enough, we just have to use a little bit of the other piece.
As with the floor, we traced around all the old side panels, making sure to keep all those poppers that used to be in them, because that's what you use to stick the new ones to the side. I sanded them all down after Mum cut them, and we put them all in the van.
Brute force.
Fast forward to a few days later, we ended up going back to Mitre 10 because we finally decided on the bed layout. So this is one of the nice helpful people who is here cutting our bed legs. So we got 9 of them. Can't remember the height we decided on, but it's nice to use it there because they get really nice straight edges. And this is another big piece of thick wood that we got to make the bed. So he's cutting it kind of into 2 halves. One bit's a little bit smaller, and then that smaller bit will be cut in half, and you'll see what happens to it later.
So this is going to be how we do it. I'm just going to build up a frame, and then we've got our 180 centimetre by 65. It's the main bit, and then we have 2 other pieces that are cut in half. And then we'll hopefully put it all together.
Before we started on the bed, we had to screw the floor into the metal of the van, and initially we had bought 20mm screws, but they were a bit too short, so went back to Mitre 10 and replaced them for the 30mm ones.
Keep my fingers crossed. Do you think it's in?
Yeah, they ain't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We just built up the bed frame first with some really long screws and wood glue just to help it stick, I guess, and hold in place. And then once we did that and figured out the placement, we popped on the longer bit of the bed, so the main single part, and kind of decided where that was going to go. The next step was then to figure out where we were going to put the hinges for the bed as it flipped over. That took a bit of time, but you know, it's a fast motion video, so you can't even tell. I screwed a few screws down, and we then moved on to making the cutouts for the bed slats, which this tool, no idea what it's called, but it didn't even work. I'm not sure what happened, but we ended up changing methods because it was making the wood smoke like crazy. We ended up resorting to what I now know is called a jigsaw. So I was tracing around the outside of where I'd like the slats to go, and Mum ended up cutting them out.
Hold it.
You think this is not going to hold it?
Yeah. You just do it kind of loose
Yeah,
first.
just until I sort out, because you're going to get one shot.
Next step is to use the varnish. Decide to go for a satin finish, just with this disposable roller, and varnish the side panels and the floor. We can't get the side panels off, unfortunately, so the better thing would have been to varnish it before it went on. But anyway, we'll just do it as is. So I finished varnishing the floor and the side panels. This one here is, I've done both sides of it, and that's because it's the one that's on the door, so that's going to get wet sometimes, so you're going to have to make sure that that is sealed properly. But here is the floor now, kind of a bit more yellowy, and the side panels are much darker, but I'll leave it to dry and do another coat.
Woohoo! So, we've almost made it to the end of the video. Here's just me varnishing the floor, if that is of interest to anyone. Not particularly helpful, I don't know, I was just rolling it on. Anyway, cue the next bit where I explain a little bit about what the plan is next. So the plan is basically to have this side here be kind of shelves and whatnot, not 100% sure yet. And what the bed will do is it'll flip over and lean on a piece of, or a strip of wood that's on this side. And what will happen is that I'll lean this over and these two will become the double bed. But what I can do is either have one half of it folded over so that I can sit in an L shape, or kind of whatever I like. Most of the time I think I'll keep it in the single position. I think I need to sand that more. Whew. Well, you managed to get through the whole video, so that's good for you. Maybe you want to do your van, or do a van, someone's van. Anyway, next up I'm gonna have to build the side and probably the kitchen at some point. I still haven't figured all that stuff out, so I don't know if or when that is gonna happen. But anyway, thank you for watching, and next time maybe it'll be more interesting. Yeah, alright then. Bye!